The Hornets move on to the next game. LaMelo led the way with 30 points. Bridges and Brandon Miller combined for 51. Oh yeah, Kobe White finished with 19, including 14 in the third quarter and the game-tying 3 in the fourth, while Davion Mitchell and Andrew Wiggins led the Heat with 55 points combined. Not enough, though. Here's LaMelo after that crazy win.
A hero came through. Bridges on the offensive end and on the defensive end. Melo hitting big shots. Kobe White. Like, it was a team effort on both sides.
Yeah, it was. This is exactly what we're talking about, because sometimes we think so-and-so, a lot of people were looking at Bam to really step up in this game, to show that he could be that first option, the true leader of this team. What you don't account for is, unfortunately, an injury like that. All right, we're going to head over to the podium because Hornets coach, Coach Lee, he's at the podium. Let's take a listen.
Where I've seen the most growth and maturity from our group is just finding a way to respond. And, you know, I thought that our execution at times was good. At times it was not good. But when it mattered, I thought we executed our side out of bounds really well. And then that winning effort and competitiveness and togetherness to come up with a big-time block at the end of the game just shows kind of who we are.
With Melo, can you walk us through that last play of the game in overtime to kind of win the game? What was the play that you drew up there that he executed the way you wanted to?
Yeah, you know, really, like, Kobe is an outlet back there. So having Kobe play well and being a trustworthy ball handler, it helps having him in the backcourt in case they try to deny something. And then for Melo, if they maintain or switch, he's the first look. And if not, you got Brandon on the backside. So we trust him. You know, credit to Sion, too. I think sometimes, you know, you get all the guy that scored gets the most credit, but I think that inbounder is so important. And for Sion to kind of be sitting there and not always be in the game when his number was called, he came up with a big-time inbounds.
And then with Kobe White, can you put into words just what he meant for you guys, especially in the second half, and just that shot to put you guys in overtime there?
Yeah, he's been huge since he's got here. He showed who he is again tonight in a big moment. You know, a winner-go-home game, and you know, even he didn't have a great first half, and I thought that he just continued to stick with it and found his way and came up with big plays down the stretch. He's been here before. He's confident in himself, and we're confident in him as well.
Coach, this city hasn't seen postseason basketball in 10 years. Last year, yesterday, you said you were hoping it was going to be lit in here. How lit was it in here, and how important was the crowd today?
My kids told me I'm not allowed to say lit anymore, but I thought that the environment in there was exactly how I pictured it. The support all game from the crowd, the noise, the everything, the drum. I think I heard a little bit. You know, we're glad that we were able to pull this one out for the Charlotte fans, because they have definitely helped us throughout the whole year, and that's the environment that we want to keep having night after night.
Charles, we've seen Kobe close quarters. I'm curious, with the shot in the fourth quarter, about 10 seconds left, did you expect them to foul up three? Is that why the shot got off so fast?
Some of it was the fouling, if they were going to foul and they had a foul to give. But the other part of it, too, is just when you're down sometimes, want to play as fast as possible, give yourself a chance to go get a rebound or something when you are down. If it was tied, maybe we hold for the very last shot.
Coach, postseason basketball is about meeting the moment, and Miles Bridges talked to us earlier about how he wanted to do that. And can you talk about the physicality that he brought to this game, the three-point shots, and all the little things that he did to impact this win?
Yeah, I thought defensively he took on the matchup of pretty much everybody on their team. I love how he kind of stood up, wanted to guard everybody. If they got going, he was down to do it. His first point of contact, I thought that there was great physicality. He definitely embraced the mindset of a no-paint mindset. You know, we know how hard these guys are to guard. They either score it really well once they get a piece of that paint, or they're kicking out to guys for threes or closeout opportunities to redrive you again. So I love what he gave us on the defensive end, his communication in the coverages, and then to come back in and help us rebound. And then early on, the offensive physicality that he showed too, with some of his screening, understanding where the mismatches were, and taking advantage of them early in the clock really helped us.
This is your first postseason game as a head coach, your staff's first postseason game together. How did you feel? What was it like for you to make some of the tough decisions down the stretch in a close game like that?
Yeah, I'm super grateful for this staff. They prepare our team with the right amount of information and skill work on the court and tactically, and they help me. You know, I think we talk through enough things to kind of prepare us for the game, but more importantly, it's about the players and how they go out and play and execute, and I think that the staff does a phenomenal job of preparing our players to get ready for for these type of moments, because if you want to win them, you got to be prepared and you got to have the mindset to be locked in on the moment, and they definitely were throughout the game.
Okay, huge win, not just for the Hornets, but for Coach Lee. This entire season has been unpredictable, truly, for the Hornets, certainly all the way up to this point. And Coach said their team effort, but there was one guy, LaMelo, and we saw it towards the end of the game there, where you called it, IT. You said there's no chance he's passing that ball. He wants the game winner.
He loves those moments. You can go back to when he was in high school. Like those moments were never too high or too low for him. To see a guy that turned the ball over, fouled on the three-point shot at the end of the game, and if you see his facial expression, it never changed. And that's a strength of his. Like, he doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. He shot horrible today, but he's always going to be on to the next play, on to the next shot, and that's what makes him special. He put his head down, he carried his team towards the end, and you got to give a shout-out to a guy like that who just doesn't he's unfazed by anything that's going on, and that's a strength to have as a young guard.
He is, well, not speak for him. The Hornets in particular, if those who aren't familiar with the Hornets and what they've been doing since January, this game right there epitomized all of that. You have defensive intensity, you have playmaking, you have lob plays, you just have a lot of electricity, and you see the building. Like, the building was crazy. We can see that from here sitting on the couch. But one thing about the Charlotte Hornets is that they're a team that those, superior teams are very concerned with. So if they are able to get themselves into the top 8, into the playoff field, they are a team to be feared.
All right, on the other side of this, head coach Eric Spoelstra from the Heat, he's at the podium.
Get a stop, down the stretch. Anytime we had a lead, we had opportunities to get, a stop down in regulation in the last 3 possessions, and we weren't able to get the stop, there at the end. I didn't see it, but I don't think it's cute. I don't think it's funny. I think it's a stupid play. It's a dangerous play. Obviously, our best player is out. I'm not making an excuse. The Hornets played great, and they made those plays down the stretch. We had our opportunities to win. I just, that's a shame. He should be penalized for that. I don't think that belongs in the game. Tripping guys, shenanigans, and Curtis was there. It's his responsibility to see that, and if it's not his responsibility, then Zach's got to see it. If somebody has got to see that, and that he should have been thrown out of the game, for that. I don't know him from anyone. There's no place in the game for that. Obviously, it took Bam out of the game, but that did not deter us. If there's anything about our locker room, we just the guys just got into the competition, and like I said, we had our opportunities to win this game. It felt like we were going to win the game going down the stretch in regulation. Like I said. One stop out of those last 3 possessions would have sealed it.
When you look back on the overall process of the season, is that what this tells you in the end, that you just can't keep tempting the fates with these kind of finishes and put yourselves in these kind of positions?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're asking, Ira, but if you're going to be in the play-in or you're going to be in the playoffs, you're going to put yourself out there. That's what competition is. You put yourself out there, and you don't know what the result is going to be. There's nothing to be ashamed of, with our locker room. Right right now from this game, I say it all the time. What you want is you want to feel like you're worthy to win, and I think our guys felt like they were worthy to win tonight. We just didn't win the game, and that can happen as well. That's what we'll have to live with, in the off season.
Colel obviously had to step up. 1, your thoughts on the starting lineup. 2, the fact that he was the only big. Your thoughts on his overall performance?
Yeah, he had his moments, for sure, and his best moments were actually in the second half when we needed him the most, and he was really active in our zone defense. His 2 blocks. It could have been a 3rd block. They called a goaltend. Were pivotal. That's when we started to get back into the game and make our run. And then his rebounding, was key as well. So he can definitely build on that because those were pressure moments, that he rose to the occasion.
All right, such a wild back and forth game. And we're going to take a short break here on the association. But as we go to break, this was us collectively, including little Miles, watching the Hornets win over the Heat. I fell out, quite literally. More playing coverage after a quick break. I'm sure. Dorian, that's enough celebrating. We'll be right back with more of this.